Hi, my name is Dalila, like vanilla, and welcome to a day in my life as a brand partner lead working in big tech here in Munich. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. We've got quite a busy day ahead of us here in the office, so let's get started and get to work on my performance review. My friend's birthday party. The closest I think I've ever gotten to losing my job. So what do we need to work on today? Actually, I had blocked some time today to really get to work on my performance review. We're in performance review season. So I figured I would share with you guys today how I go through the whole process of preparing for my performance review and what I actually wrote about myself, just in case that might help you as you're working on your snippets. So what did my manager ask for? 1, a review of my core metrics, and then 2, I need to give like 3 examples of ways that I contributed to the team beyond my core metrics. This to me is the most crucial part of your performance review because it gives you a really good opportunity to explain yourself and your impact beyond your numbers. And also, if your numbers aren't that great, which mine are not right now, this also gives you the perfect opportunity to try to talk away the numbers. And I would say the fact that my numbers are kind of weak is fairly normal. I'm still ramping up to quite a few things, so it's not super tragic that my numbers are a bit weak, but it is something that needs to be addressed. Since I can't use my numbers to showcase my value to the team, I'm going to instead showcase my value through some initiatives that I led over these last couple of months. And I would say when you're picking like little projects or initiatives to mention, make sure that they still kind of align with your core roles. I wouldn't mention something that has like no transferable skill set or value back to my core role. In order to find those tasks, what I do is I keep kind of like a work diary, which I update on like a bi-weekly, sometimes on a monthly basis, depends on how busy things are. I just have a super simple spreadsheet with a couple core columns, what I worked on, who I worked on it with, what were the expectations for this project, what actually happened. I can quickly write up everything by just referencing that document. I also find this really, really useful for when you are asked to give feedback about someone else who you might collaborate with on a regular basis, because in that kind of column where you reference who you did the project with, you can just Control F for their name and note all the different things you worked on together. So here is what I ended up writing, and apologies, I'm going to kind of look down at my laptop to remember what it is that I said. 1 was around thought leadership. We went to a conference recently that had like a bit of a gaming focus or game audience, and I thought it would be a cool idea to bring like a top German gaming creator, and so I coordinated with our creator team to make that happen and to kind of do a bit of a surprise and delight for the brands that we're working with, but also for that kind of gaming audience. I called this out because I think it shows how I really can understand like the pain point of the teams that we're working with, and also how I can kind of facilitate cross-departmental collaborations. Speaking of collaboration, my second point was on collaboration. I wrote about how I was a collaborator for an internal project about AI. This project involved much more senior people than myself, and my contribution was very small and limited, so I didn't like take credit for the project or anything like that. But I used this just to highlight my willingness to be involved in things I don't understand. Personally, this was like a really good opportunity for me to see how more senior people within my organization lead and interact in meetings. It was a very, monkey see, monkey do type of moment for me. That's a little bit about like how I write my performance review and a couple things that I wrote within mine. If you would be interested in maybe hearing my advice on how to write a performance review about somebody else, if you get asked for feedback for a performance review or a promotion packet, let me know. I'm happy to do like a future segment on that. And with that said, guys, let's go get a little coffee. I think we're due for a morning coffee break. I think the elephant in the room for pretty much everyone working in big tech or really tech-heavy fields is layoffs. Layoffs are a massive conversation in tech right now. I feel like it's once a week on my LinkedIn, I log in and I see notices about redundancies or people being impacted who I've worked with across my career. And to be honest, it can be a really, really scary topic to navigate regardless of which stage you're in your career. I've been through a few rounds of layoffs myself. I have not been impacted in any of those rounds, but I can tell you that my experience of going through the layoff rounds in the US versus in Germany were very, very different. And so I thought this would be something worth discussing together today. I think we're all pretty familiar with how layoffs work in the US. At its core, it is viewed as a basic business decision and doesn't really require much nuance. There's a spreadsheet, your employee ID is in there with everybody else's, they stack rank you based on a couple metrics, and then cut the people at the bottom. So I'm not going to spend too much time going through that, but let's talk about how it works in Germany, because I found that experience really interesting, really insightful. Germany, things are quite different. So the way it works is that after you've been with a company for 6 months, as long as the company you work for has at least 10 employees, German law requires a valid written reason for dismissal. You'll receive a written notice with a statutory kind of notice period that scales with your tenure. And if your company has a workers' council, then it is also mandatory for them to negotiate the terms of this whole kind of notice process, as well as what kind of your severance package will be. So severance in Germany, from my understanding at least, feel free to correct me in the comments, is not legally required, but it is very customary. So you can kind of always expect that you'll receive some form of severance. So with that said, if you're doing the math, if you're following along, you'll probably realize that the easiest employees to get rid of in a layoff period are those that do not hit the 6-month mark. The ones below the 6-month mark are kind of free game. When I first joined my role, I was hired in with 4 other people. Of the 4 people, 2 of them were removed during our layoff period, which actually happened when I kind of first joined the company. One of them had kind of mutually agreed not to continue with the company during their probation period. Out of that group, I was the one who made it and continued forward. This was really the closest I think I've ever gotten to truly losing my job, because we were all within the same management line, all within the same department, same office, like everything was the exact same. I mean, these are people who I sat with desk to desk. So it was a really kind of scary moment for me that even though I had moved to a country like Germany where, labor laws are much more robust, I still felt like I could get fired on a whim, I'd love to hear from you guys on if something similar has happened to you, maybe how you felt about it, how you navigated it, or what kind of the experience has been for you and your companies in terms of layoffs. I really think this is becoming such an always-on factor of working in big tech, where when I had first joined Google years ago, it never crossed my mind that something like that would kind of ever occur to me. So it's been a really interesting kind of step change in the narrative of big tech, that it went from being this really safe kind of place to work, very stable, to these very constant rounds of layoffs. But with that said, I've got my laptop here. Time to lock in. I've wrapped up work. I've done a dramatic little outfit change, and now we are off to my friend's birthday party. Today is Monday, and yes, her birthday is today, so she wants to celebrate today. I have honestly never gone to a birthday party on a Monday, but who am I to complain? I got the gift with me here. I got her basically some things from Aesop. I got her soap and some hand cream, and I also got her travel-sized hand cream from L'Occitane, because who can say no to a gift like that? I'm going to take you with me to the birthday party. I'm going to go have dinner at one of my favorite sort of restaurants here in Munich, and then we're going to have drinks at a bar that I really like. Thank you so much for spending some of your day with me, and I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Really excited to see you again next week. Stay tuned for the rest of the birthday party.